Hi everyone, and welcome to How Our Garden Grows. In this video I'm going to show you how to transplant peas. I did a video on how to seed start peas indoors. These are some of them that I have here. There's also some other vegetables on the side. You know, we've got some spinach over there, which is coming up, which is ready to be transplanted as well. But I want to kind of show you, it's kind of more of the first look into the garden beds. And I sowed some arugula. You can see that it's starting to come up. It's just been so cold. Even on 4-2 that I sowed this on, it's taking a long time to germinate and actually come up. You know, just so much wind, so much cold. You can take a look at some of the older part of my bed here. This is something I'm doing new this year. I just sort of let my beds just sort of sit. And so there's a lot of debris in here. I'm going to be cleaning all of this out. I'm going to be clearing all of it. This was my corn bed last year. And so I just worked on this half this year. And you can see it's kind of fenced off. I have rabbits in this area. So in order to have some protection, I have this. This needs to be pinned back up from the winter. But anyway, I had a pill bug problem. And so or the roly-polies, it's also what they're known as. And so I thought if I just let some of the decomposing matter to rest throughout the winter, a lot of the microorganisms underneath the soil, they're still active. Even though it's freezing above ground, they're still able to benefit from the decomposing matter. So I'm leaving a lot more of it in this year. I'm going to kind of see how that goes as an experiment. I think it's going to go well, but I will keep you posted on how that goes. Anyway, back to pea starting. So we have these cells that I had done. We're going to do organ sugar pods today. And I just want to take a good look at the root system. Doesn't look like there's a lot of roots that are coming out of the bottom. So that's actually a good thing. But I'm going to show you how I really tear these away. We'll just tear away a couple of pods right now. But how I actually plant these. Now, there is a rumor with these, and it's actually a true rumor. There is some truth to it. That these cells are going to decompose over time. That is absolutely true. But if you do the peat starters like these are, they do decompose, but they decompose over a long period of time. And I'm talking about over 365 days. So you're going to be digging these up in the fall. If you think that they're going to just decompose right off the bat in, you know, a matter of months, then you are mistaken. That's not going to happen. There are these new pots called cow pots, which I'm sure you probably heard of. It's made of basically, you know, a cow compost kind of matter. Those will decompose a lot quicker. So you can choose either or. I think the cow pots are a little bit more expensive now. I mean, they're not too much of a difference, but just in case you were, you know, trying to evaluate either one of those for purchasing. So I'm trying to do a lot of this one-handed, which is always, you know, super fun for me. But here's what I like to do with them. I like to basically peel off the edges. And there's a little bit of root bound I can see just on the other side. Roots are sort of bounding kind of back up. And a lot of the disadvantages of starting in these is if the roots don't come out of the bottom, right, or it's too late, they tend to just coil endlessly like that, right? So by removing this, I'm allowing the root system to sort of spread a little bit with minimal disturbance. And so what I want to do for this, especially since how grown up they are, I want to take as much of this off without disturbing the root system. And so what I don't want to do is I don't want to do any more than what I just did. The roots will start to grow out of the side. I've given them a space. See if I can focus in on that. See that root? what you don't want to do is rip the taproot out. And so this is the rumor with peas of why you don't want to start them in containers. So a lot of times when you have some of those plastic cells, the root system will actually coil out through the bottom of it right here and will end up needing to be ripped out. And I've saved some plants before by doing that, but you basically have to cut through the plastic and destroy the cell. And it's sort of like a surgical removal at that point. So I wouldn't recommend doing this ever in any sort of plastic container. Oh my goodness. I love this soil that I've created. This took me several years. This is like year 5 right now of doing this, and I'm just in love with how loose and beautiful the soil is. So this is perfect. I'm not fertilizing at all and transplanting these peas. Peas will fix their own nitrogen, so these should just be fine, living off of what's here from last year. And there was a ton of nitrogen pumped into here for corn production, so these are going to be perfect. These will revitalize the soil, so I could do something like corn here next year if I wanted to alternate. So a lot of times when you have some of those plastic cells, the root system will actually coil out through the bottom of it right here and will end up needing to be ripped out. And I've saved some plants before by doing that, but you basically have to cut through the plastic and destroy the cell. And it's sort of like a surgical removal at that point. So I wouldn't recommend doing this ever in any sort of plastic container. Oh my goodness. I love this soil that I've created. This took me several years. This is like year 5 right now of doing this, and I'm just in love with how loose and beautiful the soil is. So this is perfect. I'm not fertilizing at all and transplanting these peas. Peas will fix their own nitrogen, so these should just be fine, living off of what's here from last year. And there was a ton of nitrogen pumped into here for corn production, so these are going to be perfect. These will revitalize the soil, so I could do something like corn here next year if I wanted to alternate. All right, so I have the line of peas sown. So I'm going to get these watered in. I'm going to make sure that I label it, because labeling is important. And you don't have to worry so much about spacing. And peas you can do 2 inches apart, I think is pretty optimal. They can grow. I've had 2 peas come up per cell. So definitely a pretty flexible crop that will start to get going when it gets established in the ground. So definitely going to make sure I water this in. Going to make sure that I label it. So I'm going to run inside and grab one of those shims that I used to label. So here's one for my arugula that I showed you went down. So that's starting to come up, which is nice. And so these should take off. Should have a few good days to get this established. We'll have a couple of windy days and cooler days coming up, but these peas shouldn't mind it. As long as it doesn't, we don't get consecutive days. So thanks again for watching, and please like and subscribe. I'll show you how these do from, again, the seed starts that we did indoors when it was too cold, too windy, and then we get them transplanted outside. You'll see how these really take off in the next couple of weeks. And in time to come, I'll show you what the harvest is like. So again, thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe, and check out our other YouTube videos. Thanks again.